So this will be a demo on connecting the joints to the foot control to get the foot control to animate everything nice and easily. So we've already gone ahead and created these foot controls by adding attributes. So we've got the ball raise, heel pivot, bank, toe raise, and toe pivot. Now what we need to do in order to connect these, we're going to do each one separately and make sure that you freeze transformations on them. So I've got my right foot control and my left foot control. And it's always a good idea to do an edit, delete all by type, and from this moment on you're going to want to do non-deformer history because we're going to start connecting things, and yes, so you can break some of your controls if you delete all by history. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the connection editor. So Windows General Editor, Connection Editor. And here on our left side we've got left foot control. And now we need to start connecting some of these controllers. If we scroll all the way to the bottom, you see all of our controls here that we added. And I'm going to start by just doing the heel first because it's right there. And here under Rotate, once I find it, under Rotate, you can always double check which it's Rotate Z. So I'm going to hit heel raise here, click on that, and then I'm going to do Rotate Z. Now let's double check that. If I go to my heel raise and middle mouse button click, you'll see it now controls the heel. Heel pivot will be Rotate Y on that. So let's check our heel pivot. Working fine. Alright. Our ball raise will be the reverse foot joint. There we go. So reload right, and if you want to double check the rotation, it'll be Rotate Z, and you'll see that's the ball raise. So under ball raise, make sure you reload right here. Make sure at the top it's on the correct joint, and then under rotate, Rotate Z. So now let's check that controller. Under ball raise, that works. Okay. We'll get to bank last. That's the most difficult one to connect. We need to use set driven keys for that. So let's go ahead and push forward and do the toe. So make sure you're selecting the left reverse toe joint, reload right. Under toe raise, it will be under rotate, where do you go? Rotate Z. Under toe pivot, Rotate Y. So toe raise, working perfectly, and toe pivot, working perfectly. So we've got a foot control setup here. Now for the bank, little bit more tricky, and this is where a lot of people get confused. When it's explained, it's not as confusing as it seems, but at first it's going to seem rather confusing. So let's see. Animate might be under rigging. So this is just a little bit new to the new user interface. Set driven key, where are you? It used to be just under a tab called Animate. Now unable. To find it. Oh, come on. Okay, so it's under the animation tab, not the rigging tab, and set driven key set. So, sorry about that. Under so for the bank controller, what we're going to do is we need this foot control to be the driver, and these bank controls are actually going to rotate the foot this way and rotate the foot this way. So I need my controller to be the driver and my joints to be the driven, so hit load driven on that. Now make sure you know which axes you're going to be rotating on, and it's going to be Z. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on my bank controller here in the driver, and on the driven I'm going to click on rotate Z, and I need 0 to be 0, so I'm just going to hit key. Now on the bank controller I need to do this one first because I need to tell it at this point I want it to be at this point. So in a second it'll make sense. So double check to see how far you want it to go. I'm going to say I'm going to go to an extreme and say about -70. And you'll see it's red here in the channel box, and that's the set driven key, keying just that part. So under the bank controller, I'm going to set on my left foot control this to be +70, and my left outer bank controller, this will be -70, and then I'm going to hit key. And now let's double check it works. So on the bank controller I bring it down and it works just fine. So I bring it forward and it works just fine. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to tell it on the opposite joint, on the inside bank joint, we're going to hit load driven because the other one's working fine. At this point on the bank controller, and this should just double check to make sure it's rotate Z, go ahead and click bank and rotate Z and hit key. And now on the controller, go ahead under bank, and we're keying it at 0 first. That's what we're doing, to make sure that at 0 this is what we're telling it to do. So now I'm going to set this, because I already have it to be +70 here, I'm going to set this to be -70, and here I'll start to rotate, and I'm going to make this +70 and see what that looks like, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to hit key, and now just double check it and go to your bank, and you'll see that positive and negative, it makes it bank inside and outside depending on how you want it. So now that I have that set, I need to go ahead and go into my attribute editor. So edit, or modify, edit attribute, and under bank has minimum and maximum. Click those two buttons and set it to -70 and maximum 70. Hit return or enter, hit close, and now when you run through that control you can never go past that number, which is really nice. So you can do that to a number of controllers depending on what the number is after you start playing around with it and testing it. So because even your rig and your mesh will have certain limitations. Once you do that, just go ahead and make sure you center pivot. And now you've got one foot controller all good to go. The only thing that we haven't done yet is actually set it to be when this foot moves, it moves the entire leg. But all the foot controls are set, so we can do a ball raise, heel raise, heel pivot, the bank, toe raise, and toe pivot. So you're going to want to select the reverse foot joint setup, shift select your foot control and hit P. And now, moving it up and down, you'll see it all works fine. So we've got now our foot control set up, and you can rotate it, and everything is working just fine. The next thing we're going to have to do after we finish these foot controls is set up a knee control, so then when we move the foot up or in or out or whatever, we can adjust the direction of the kneecap. So go ahead and do this one more time. I'll do the opposite foot now. Should be pretty quick this time, or quicker. Windows, General Editors, Connection Editor, scrub down. You see here, down here, at the top it says right foot control, and here, down here, we've got all our controllers. So from this point on, we're going to begin to connect our controls. So I'm going to start with the heel again, reload right, scrub down, find the rotate, under heel raise, rotate Z, under heel pivot, rotate Y. On the ball raise, reload right, rotate Z. On the toe raise, reload right, rotate Z, and toe pivot, rotate Y. Okay, and hit close, double check they all work. Ball raise works, heel raise works, heel pivot works. We haven't done the bank yet. Toe raise works, and toe pivot works. So now let's go ahead and get to the bank controllers. Under the animation tab, go to key, set driven key, set, select your foot control, load driver, and select your joints and hit load driven. Under the bank controller, I'm going to have this be it's rotate Z if I remember correctly. Yep. Go ahead and hit key at 0, so we're keying it at 0. Now I'm going to set this to be -70 and set this to be +70, and I'm going to hit key. Now if I check my bank, ooh, I think I had it on the wrong controller, so I'm going to undo that. I did. Good thing I caught that. I had my heel pivot selected, so good thing. Alright. Make sure you have bank selected. Okay. Load driven. Good. Bank, rotate Z, key, set it to select your foot control first, set this to be 70 or whatever number you want it to be, actually -70, and then my joint here is going to rotate at 70, and now I can hit key. Select my controller, bring it back down, and it works. And just to double check that, and it works just fine. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Load driven. Under rotate Z, I'm going to key it at 0, and then I'm going to select the foot control and set it to be at 70, and this will be negative 70, and I'm going to hit key. And now you'll see that it works just fine. Okay, so I'm going to set that back to 0 to be my default. I'm going to close out of the set driven key, and I'm going to go back into my modify edit attribute. I'm going to edit the attributes of the bank controller, and has minimum and has maximum of negative 70 and positive 70. Return and hit close, and now double check. Stops at 70, stops at negative 70. So good. Now, last thing, select the foot control, shift select select the joint, the reverse foot joint, and then shift select the right foot control. Hit P, select your foot control, center the attribute, modify, or center the pivot, center pivot. Before I parent that, actually, I'm going to center pivot because it went up the IK chain, so the pivot point was at approximately the knee. Okay, so try that one more time. Select the reverse foot, shift select the controller, hit P, and now double check to make sure it works, and it does. So that's good. And now we can go ahead and double check. It's always a good thing to double check your controllers. Pivot, good. Bank, good. Pivot, good. Heel raise, good. Ball raise, good. Okay. So that's where we're at so far. That's how we connect the controllers to the joints to the controller to get our ready to animate foot controls. So make sure you save it, and that's it on connecting the foot controls.